Hey, hey, I want your cray cray. Hey, hey, I want your AKA Jonescast. Okay. Hello and welcome once again to the AKA Jonescast. Tonight's episode 5. AKA the Octopus. Back in the corner, Jessica's forced to share her intel on the killer. A groggy Trish tries to pull herself together before an important meeting. Our director is Millicent Shelton. Writers, of course, Brian Michael Bendis came up with this whole idea of having a Jessica Jones. And who else is there? We got Melissa Rosenberg in our credited by credit. And our written by credit is Jamie King. No hardest working person in show business over at Jessica Jones. I don't know why that is. Okay. Moving right along. So, let's talk this fun little episode. We open up with Jessica in jail because, because the police, prejudice against powered people.
Stupid people. Yeah.
Yeah. Although you'll you'll say this much: it's good to be a white woman because she sure didn't get shot during this whole event.
Right.
That's our political statement for the day.
Right.
For all the prejudice against powered people, she's still a white woman. So she's in jail. She punches a wall. She's very surly.
And they keep trying to play up the fact that she's just like this woman that they're trying to catch, which Tristan's comment from last week puts, the whole thing in a very different light, and it's certainly interesting. So thank you, Tristan.
Okay, yeah, sorry for the spoilers, Mozz.
No, but it certainly seems like, okay, yeah, that's what they're definitely trying to tell us.
Yeah. It's a really fascinating thing, but what I like best about this whole part of the show is Hogarth's kind of evolution as a person. And
interesting.
Her realization that, and telling Jessica, if you alienate everyone who comes into contact with you, you're going to have no one.
Right.
And I think this is kind of this interesting thing for Hogarth. Her arc, she has actually, I would actually say Hogarth has the best arc in this series. Hogarth actually has a really amazing arc. And it's not anything that you expect. Does come out
up until this point, because this is all I've seen, but like you find it to be redemptive in a way.
I wouldn't go that far. I would say that it is a great story, and how she goes through all the stages of dealing with the nonsense of dying and people is a truly fascinating thing. And she's right that you need people. You do need someone to be there for you when you are down, because not for nothing, that is, if there's one great truth I've learned in life, it is that we're only as strong as the support system we have created. That those who are alone die alone only because they insisted upon it. Humans are social beings, and we want to help each other. In a very amazing thing, we always want to help each other.
Yeah. I think her motivations are more born out of desperation and sort of the sharpness of the mind that hunger brings you. That's her mindset as I see it. I don't know if she's finding a way to being a more conscious person or more more able to realize that human relationships mean this or that. I see it more as a mad dash and a grab for anything she can get her clutches on to save her life.
Well, truth be told, that is the oh goodness, what do you call it? Not existentialist. What was it that Ayn Rand, the School of Philosophy of Ayn Rand. I'm losing it. But basically,
look out for yourself.
I'm sorry.
Personal responsibility.
Well, it's the idea that essentially there is an argument for egalitarianism within I'm blanking on the word for it, within Randianism, for an extreme capitalism.
Okay.
And the argument is that if you truly, that the value of helping other people is that it helps you.
Okay.
That, you can't sit and say, well, I will not help another person, because obviously that person may have the ability to help you.
Right.
Maybe
so
not now, but probably at some point you're going to need the help.
Right. I think in as much as it's an evolutionary impulse, that dynamic plays into why we are moral. I think, evolutionists say that the idea of morality was born out of this in-group, out-group dynamic that came when we started farming and agriculture, and that necessitated protecting our territory. So people were certainly in our group, and certain people were certainly outside of our group. And being nice to the people that were in our group provided more food and easier access to food and survival and progeny and yada yada yada. So
yeah, and so but along those lines, from Hogarth's perspective, this idea that you need people in your life, just like, it's funny because when Foggy suggests this last episode, she immediately says, "Well, you're just kissing up. You got your kisser up my butt, and that's what's going on here." But of course, well, that may be a possible reality. The fact of the matter is that he's not wrong, that Hogarth needs people to be there for her. And right. So within this entire concept, you have this idea, and I think that is maybe what Hogarth is coming to understand, that I need people. Yes, they need stuff from me too. Jessica needs me to be her friend right now.
Right.
And Jessica does provide for me value, which we see later on in this episode as she is speaking with Inez. That because she would like Inez to come there. And Inez, for what it's worth, calls it all out when she says, hey, there's lots of safe places you could put me that don't have, 300 count Egyptian cotton sheets.
Right, right. Yeah, but she's a street smart girl. She's, living on the street. She can read people pretty well. Her life depends on it most of the time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, she is, she is homeless. And I don't think it's all just the PTSD. She is a woman who is
better left alone.
Yeah, well, she's afraid, and IGH, for what it's worth, is a scary group.
Right, right.
Especially because we know that that our monster, who we get to see in several stages throughout this.
Right. Her first shot is very interesting to me because she's out there burning the evidence and such that she stole from Jessica's off of Chang's guy. But the weird, I'm wondering why they would make this choice, the naked witch in the forest, dancing around a fire motif that they use there.
Well, because you had to burn those clothes. That's all DNA, man.
Right. No, but I get that. But they played it up to definitely strike a picture that would make you think of a Renaissance painting about the subject, or early American.
Well, there's.
But so, are they trying to say something about female empowerment or witchcraft or something like that? You think?
Well, I would imagine that's probably in the back of someone's mind while they're shooting that scene. I think that basically there's a pragmatic reason for that scene. The pragmatic reason for the scene is that you need to get rid of. She's got to burn her. Yeah.
Right. Well, she keeps the wig though. I guess that's expensive.
Well, yeah. Not for nothing. You don't want to go get another wig. As we saw, this.
Yeah. Although
Those wigs are not cheap.
That would have been a cool scene if she does have like a burnt head or something to burn the wig also, and then like let see her against the fire like this crazy looking creature. I don't know. That would have been kind of cool.
Actually,
if she's indeed.
And actually, for reality's sake, she may not have been wearing the wig at the time.
No, fair enough.
You know, she the last time we saw her, she was wearing the hoodie, and it's entirely possible, you know, the hoodie covers the fact that she's not wearing her wig, or you know, like so many women about to get in the fight, they take the wig off, you know.
Yeah, that's
took
true.
her wig off, hung it on the fire hydrant, and then did what she had to do.
Right.
And within this story, we also get to see a lot of great stuff with Malcolm.
Oh yeah, that was my favorite part of this episode.
Mm-hmm. You know, Malcolm, he gets his promotion. He's now an associate.
Yeah.
And
first, though, I mean, like, it starts. I love the way they build it because first Jess calls him from prison, and she's like, "Blah blah blah. I need this done. I need that done. Time for you to earn your 20%." And then she ends the call by saying, "Alias is you're in charge of Alias." You know, that was kind of a big deal for him.
Yeah, well, you know.
And then, you know, he gives him the promotion, and then after the promotion, he even gets, you know, props from Hogarth. Where he walks in and she's like, "You're beginning to be a lot like Jessica," and that's a compliment. I don't pay her to make friends. I was like, "Yeah, you go get it, Malcolm."
Yeah, well, you know, for what it's worth, Malcolm has a great evolution as a character in this series.
Yes, indeed.
And I do think, you know, Malcolm. Yeah, I don't even know if this is a character who's actually in the comics. I think this is a unique. This is Netflix's Jack McGee. You know, a unique and original character that is strict to Jessica Jones. And, you know, it is interesting how it plays out. Oh, quick fun fact. You know how NBC Universal Comcast is doing the bidding against Marvel? You know, you do realize that if they were to win, then Universal, who still owns the Hulk, would get the X-Men and these other characters in the Fantastic Four, and, you know, you could have that whole Jack McGee. You could actually have the Jack McGee files. It would be amazing. Okay, but getting back to our story. I'm very, you know, I want Disney to own it, but I'm intrigued by the possibility of NBC Universal getting more Marvel, because, you know, I love the Hulk.
Yeah, then if that happens, Hugh Jackman's going to have to come back as Wolverine.
Oh, well, no, you know, well, I mean, he might want to. I mean, that's the thing, you know, when any of these characters leave and they say, "Oh, I'm done with it, what they mean is, I'm done with it until the Robert Downey Jr. money shows up. You know, I'm done with it until someone makes me the offer. Because they're actors, they're professionals. This is what they literally do for a living. If you offer them enough money, they will come back, they will do the role again. But, you know, they're going to make, you know, prerequisites, just like Hugh Jackman did in this last one where he says, "Look, I really don't want to have to get totally ripped again. I don't want to look like a 20-year-old. I want to look like a freaking 50-year-old when I'm doing this. I'll be a in-shape 50-year-old, but please don't make me go to the gym for that, you know."
Right. I just want to see Hulk versus Wolverine. That's all I want, really.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you can get a different Wolverine for that. They've, you know.
I guess.
You can get an actual Canadian Wolverine. It'll be great.
That would be nice.
You know.
So anyway. What did you think of that scene with the monster playing her piano and the unaware woman with her beautiful baby comes to get soothed?
Yeah, the woman with no sense of boundaries, yes.
Yeah, that as well, yeah. Although when you've got a baby that won't stop crying and you encounter something that does help it stop crying, you want to know what it is.
Well, and I will give that to her, that there is a strong motivation. I just want someone to make my child stop screaming.
Right?
But, you know, it got to a very awkward spot, and
they don't give you any resolution either.
She didn't kill the baby. So
they don't tell us that. They don't tell us that because the way she gets in is by plying her and bribing her with this beautiful baby. And the way she looks down at this baby and dotes on her, it's not like people look at children. She's looking at it like she's salivating almost.
Oh wow!
You know?
Okay, not for nothing. I think you're reading way more into that scene than I would have read it. I think she
had a really evil. But she had designs on that baby. That's what it looked like.
Oh, okay. I do not think that at all. And I don't think she had any designs on that baby. I think that basically, it goes out, it goes a flu, and the woman leaves with her baby. As you should when someone starts freaking out. I think the baby...
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Right, the baby, they get out, and then she woke up from her
and then
little...
she smashes the piano, and then we see her burning the piano later, because, Yes. But Tristan loved that song, by the way, the Ain't We Got Fun song. And we had a hard time trying to get Alexa to find that song to play for us, and... yeah, because the one that Alexa is her go-to is a much bigger version of it rather than the very simple version that they play, and you really need the original Eddie Cantor version of "Ain't We Got Fun," but what are you gonna do? Anyway, but that, I mean, honestly, I just didn't quite get that woman from the start, because, it's like, but I get she's in a state of desperation about, baby crying, but still, man, we need some boundaries. We need some boundaries, Eddie. Okay. Now, and again, we get in this, Malcolm really stepping up as a detective here, because he does find the, who killed the other woman and who's in jail for it. And Jessica goes to speak with him, and we get our first shout out, which you don't get. Here's what I'm going to say. This winds up being one of the great Marvel call outs. I mean, almost as good as, actually, it's better than Tybalt, because Tybalt we got so little of. But, not Tybalt, but Maynard, actually, it was Maynard Tybalt. The Ringmaster. We get this reference to Dr. Carl. And Dr. Carl is someone from Marvel.
Ooh.
He's actually one of my favorite characters in Marvel. Although people always play with him in ways that I don't always agree with, but yeah, he is very cool. Dr. Carl is very cool, and he gets his shout out here. And,
what's his story in the comics?
Oh, okay. Well, I'll spoil it. Well, okay. So he is Dr. Carl Malice. We don't get that yet, but he is Dr. Carl Malice. Dr. Carl Malice is essentially, within the Marvel Universe, the go-to guy for... So you want to have some superpowers?
Okay.
And he is a guy who just jacks you up, man. For a price, he'll jack you up. And he is very happy to do wonderful experimentation on anyone he can get his hands on. I will say he's a bit more evil in the comics than we get him here, but then again, we don't really know how far he goes in this. And, honestly, I really like the Carl Malice they give us here, and I really hope there's more Carl Malice to go on. But but this is Carl Malice. Carl Malice, he was associated with he's done a lot of stuff with a lot of characters. But basically he was basically, in the comic books, he's like the Kingpin's mad scientist on call. So, like, any criminal that needed powers, let's just have a scene with Carl Malice, and that's how you got your powers.
Gotcha.
He got some secondhand pin particles, created a character named Daddy Longlegs, and there's all sorts of stuff going on there. It's really cool. But that is who that Dr. Carl is. And in this item, we have this idea that Dr. Carl, he likes octopi. Goes to the aquarium all the time, was actually a really nice guy and friends with our janitor, who goes and takes the rap. And it's such an interesting thing I mean, honestly, there had to be a lot of strings pulled here.
Right.
There had got to be a lot of strings pulled to get this guy. Basically, yeah, he's in a prison, but it's clearly a prison where the guy is okay. It's a prison for the criminally insane, and it ain't Arkham. This is actually
for a person of his mindset, it's not maybe the worst situation.
Yeah,
he gets to draw all he wants.
Exactly. It's 3 hots in a cot, and 2:30 is recreation time.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to talk to me right now, Jessica? I loved Jessica calling in her favor. I love you too, Ben. With Oscar, and the idea that he said he'd do anything, including violate his parole, and that's where we find ourselves here.
What I thought was really great was when, relating back to the way she feels about Oscar and Oscar's family, because at that moment where she comes to collect and gets her ID and leaves there, you see her sort of look back at this perfect, wonderful little family and a guy that, obviously likes her. It'd be perfect, but she's got in the rear view everyone that's been a part of her life she's hurt. So the moment I thought was my favorite in this episode was when the male cop turns around and tells her there's a lot of people on the force that are on your side, because those nightmares only stopped when you kill that guy. And that little moment they share is interesting, because she's proud of herself in that moment. It's like a tiny little moment where the universe gives her something back, some little bit of absolution. And I think she takes away something from that exchange, and I think she's different when she walks away from him in that moment. It's like, the world holds up mirrors to us all the time, reflecting what people see when they look at us, and these reflections help us decide who we are. And on this occasion, someone held up a mirror that showed her something that was worthwhile.
Yes, but for what it's worth, also that is worthwhile for her in something that is also one of the things that is, I don't know if you watch Gotham, but, this season, I'm sorry?
I haven't caught up all the way with this season, but I watch it.
Well, so there's basically this plotline that from the end of last season to this season, where basically, Bruce Wayne violates his one rule, which is to never kill. He actually kills someone. And then it's just... there's a great workaround that they do in the second season. I won't spoil it, but basically it's this idea that he had this one thing he held for himself, or that that she is not a killer, but she is a killer. Right. And yes, you can be a killer for good, but does that necessarily make her any better than when Kilgrave was in last season saying, "Oh, you know what? I could use my powers for good." By, making horrible people kill themselves,
Right. I think what's different here is that she's realizing that relative to how it feels to be inside a normal human relationship, like she sees on the horizon with Oscar and his family and whatnot, relative to that, when she's actually doing what the universe wants her to do, is to go out being busting up bad guys and taking on the damage and the emotional damage that comes with it, she's actually being helpful to society. She's actually being able to be worthwhile to somebody, to be useful, to be valid, and that's where she belongs. I think that's what's important about this scene, is that she's coming to recognize that that's not where she belongs, where she wants to be, but where the universe has pushed her is where maybe she is most effective and useful for the world.
Mm-hmm. And that is a very real quality of it. Now we have her after she gets her picture of Dr. Carl. We see her basically going to the municipal aquarium. I don't know which municipal aquarium this is. This might be a state. I don't think it's an upstate. I think this is all New York and Long Island. It definitely wasn't the Coney Island Aquarium, though. But
no, that's way too nice.
Yeah, exactly. But it's some aquarium somewhere, probably in the Jones Beach area, because I think there's a lot of Jones Beach in this. I don't think they go to the Jersey Shore very much.
It really looked a lot like the Staten Island Zoo, little tiny aquarium they have in there. But I'm sure there's one just like it somewhere else too.
You know what? For what it's worth, there's lots of aquariums out there. They're all real nice. I love aquariums. My favorite is Mystic. Although I'll say the Adventure Aquarium in Trenton, New Jersey, is really amazing too. And they have hippos behind glass, which is honestly, I'm gonna tell you right now. You can say what you want about octopi, but hippos are the most amazing animals to actually watch in the water because they are like as graceful as dolphins in the water.
Wow.
And you don't think of hippos like that, but you actually see a hippo in the water, and they're like, spinning and swimming, and it's like, oh my goodness, I'd never thought of a hippo like that. And they're beautiful. They're beautiful, beautiful river horses. So yes, that is my statement on the hippo. Anyway, but there are some aquariums that have that. But the Trenton Adventure Aquarium has that, and when I took the kids to that, it's great. Also, in the Adventure Aquarium, you get to pet the jellyfish, which is nice.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
Yes, it is. It is. Yes. Lost Ben there because he went back without me seeing. He went back to go pet the jellyfish some more. And it was a panic day for us, but we found him. No, we had you. It was It was Benjamin. Yes. Anyway. Yes. But there was so they're at the aquarium. We see Jessica taking out the place. She's taking pictures of people. She's trying to find them. Yes, and then, as Tristan said, our monster does show up. And we see that Dr. Carl Malice and the monster have a very close relationship.
Yeah.
They love each other, as Tristan says. And then, I don't know if you can hear Tristan.
He took the words out of my mouth. I was just going to say, Tristan, are they sitting in a tree? And he beat me to it.
Yes. And so there you go. Yeah, and they are sitting in an aquarium, and they kiss.
Right.
And then Jessica comes, and then we see the monster basically see her and then smash the aquarium.
Well, no, the monster didn't see her. Dr. Carl did. He notices her and he calls her out by name because he's sort of almost like, happy to see her in a weird way too.
Yes.
But Jessica let herself be seen. She's too good to not, So did she want to incur the altercation, or what was that, do you think?
Well,
or was that just coincidence?
At that moment when she really sees him, she has her flashback where she remembers the man.
And that's what throws her off.
Exactly. Well, I don't know if it throws her off, but maybe it is that she wants to. Because now she knows that her and the monster came from this. I mean, really know. From the same experiment. That they're from the same moment, and so when she comes into that, and then when the monster smashes the glass, which is, honestly, that is one of those things that's like, and, here's what I love about that on two levels. One is that they didn't just smash the glass like it was candy glass. You see her hit it, and you see that this is, like, sometimes when you hit something and it just cracks, it shows both your strength and the strength of that material.
Right.
It's like she is insanely strong.
Yeah.
And this isn't poster board. This is really bulletproof glass that's meant to hold back so many
industrial grade. Yeah.
Yeah, industrial grade. Tank stuff. And and then it just starts to slowly crack, and they have the evacuation. And then you hear the people, and which is like all the people saying help, because they're like had fallen over, they gotten trampled.
Yeah.
And he's, and you see Jessica kind of in this thing. Does she give chase to Malice and the monster, or does she help the people? Well, we don't know yet, because that's where this episode ends. Because it ends, we just see it go to back, and we hear the sound of the glass giving in and the water rushing. And that is how we end this episode. It's I really like this episode. This is a really excellent episode. I don't want to say it's my favorite because there are so many good ones in this. But this is really, like I said, from Hogarth, really giving this idea of you have to be nice to people because you're not going to get what you want if you're not. With that kind of a revelation of, of that Randian ideal of altruism. It's actually really neat. And then you go on with it with all the other things that happen in this, Malcolm's rise as a detective and the final, and what I also love is just those moments of humanization of our monster, with the baby, with the playing piano, that there's clearly that whatever is going on with her, it's not all her. And I kind of think of it in some levels like the Hulk. That there is this rage that you fight to control, and then a baby cries, and then you kind of lose control. It's like, David Banner, stuck in a taxi cab in New York City traffic.
Yeah.
So yeah, on a lot of levels, there's just so many great things that happen in this episode, and there's more to come. What did you think, Mozz?
I thought it was a great episode. There were tons of really, really great bits of dialogue, great little moments with the actors, and really, really good acting lines. One scene that I thought was really, really cool, was a tiny little thing, but when Jess goes to get her ID from Oscar, and he says, I need a photo, and he says, now don't smile. And she can't help herself, and she lets out this little smile. It's such a smooth line. I thought it was such a really, really cool scene, and such an honest little scene. I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah.
And I love the way Malcolm is starting to take ownership of Alias investigations. Like the way he pitches the bait in the water story to Inez to get her to come back was really cool. One bit of dialogue I found interesting when he's trying to convince Inez to trust him, and he says, I know you're scared. You have to trust me. This is what we do. I thought it'd been a smarter way to approach it, where he says, I know you're scared. You can trust me. This is what we do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I just like the fact that he basically gives her the ultimatum too, which is like, you either work with me or you'll be bait in the water.
Right. Yeah.
It's one more evidence of Malcolm really coming into his own in this business, in this less than respectable line of work that he's chosen, And he comes in with this idea that he's going to be the guy who helps people, but he's coming to understand that, sometimes to help people, sometimes helping people isn't always being the nice guy. And that's what we're seeing here. So that is this week's episode, The Octopus. Join us next week when we talk the next episode, of which is titled, I do not know off the top of my head. But, Mozz, in the meantime, how can people find you?
They can reach me via email at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And, of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way the way our Mozz and Paz once did at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter as I live tweet things, though not much right now because everything's in reruns, at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEssser. Look for the two E's in the middle for quality. Oh... So, hey, you got our cray-cray, and we really want to be your friends. Join us next week for the next episode of AKA Jonescast. Thank you and good night.